Advanced English Arabic Learning Irregular Verbs, Session 07. Fall, fell, fallen. Hack off the branches and let them fall to the ground. The soldiers had to fall back and regroup. Doctors sometimes fall back on old cures. When the business failed, we had to fall back on our savings. You can always fall back on him when you are in difficulties. He could always fall back on his old jokes. With 10% of land set aside, cereal production will fall. Quality began to fall off. So there was a fall off in quality. Financial commitments will fall due. Let it fall apart means allow it to disintegrate. Oil prices would spike and fall again. We need some help to make sure the wheels don't fall off. Don't fall for their low rental rates. The catch is in their mileage policy. He is too sus a character to fall into that trap. I'm bound to say that my entreaties did not fall on deaf ears. The individuals have operated contentedly as a company for years but then fall out. If passengers traveled in carpools of 4, gasoline consumption would fall. We dare not go ashore lest perchance we should fall into some snare. I cast off my clothes, crawled into bed and fell asleep. The tree fell with a great crash. The rain fell steadily. Her strength ebbed away and she fell into a swoon. His mouth fell open as he perceived the truth. I fell in the stream and got drenched. This small town fell to the guerrillas. The enemy fell back into a defensive position. Do me a solid please. I fell prey to gang. The pile of books teetered and fell to the floor. Sunlight fell through the trees, checkering the stones. When inflation is factored out, the trade deficit fell 10%. As I ran up the stairs, my foot slipped and I fell. Events took a turn for the worse when the affectionate man fell ill. A steady drizzle of rain fell upon them as the numbness wore away. She fell down and grazed her knees. She fell into the cold water and nearly died from hypothermia. The program fell over once when I clicked on the wrong control. I felt so dizzy that I fell over. Small rodents fell prey to domestic cats. Dear diary, today I fell in love. I fell and bruised my knee. His jokes fell flat. She fell in the river and drowned. The stone fell into the water with a soft plop. I immediately fell head over heels for Dawn, madly in love. She gave him a hefty shove and he nearly fell. The plan fell through because they hadn't thought it through properly. Prices have fallen in the past and then risen again. The convent took in single Catholic ladies had fallen on hard times. He had fallen into Amanda's clutches. I received a phone call from England informing me that my grandfather had fallen over. Peter and Jane might have fallen in love at first sight. It's fallen in the pool. I'll have to fish it out. Feed, fed, fed. Users who commit crime to feed their habit. They are leeches feeding off the hard-working majority. To make holes through which to feed the cables. These birds are feeding on recently cast seed. The boy's starving. We must feed him up. To feed nestlings and fledglings. A well-placed mole was feeding them the names. They are keen hunters with acute vision and feed primarily on waterfowl. These fungi feeding off plant sap but also providing water and nutrients to the plant. A freshwater duck that typically feeds in shallow water by dabbling and upending. A pair of swans were feeding by upending. Submerge the head and foreparts in order to feed. That turkey will feed 10 people with some to spare. I think he is feeding his old employer commercial secrets. I would never feed my dog commercial dog food. They already had 8 children to feed and clothe, leaving enough meat to feed a multitude of animals. The gecko feeds off mosquitoes and other insects. He feeds off people's fear of crime to get them to support his proposals. The opposition parties feeding on the government's weaknesses. The bats feed on insects. He feeds his cat on dry food. She lullabied us, she fed us. I fed all the coins into the telephone and waited to be connected. The raiders fed the guard dog to keep it quiet. The programs are fed into the computer. If no pasture is available, then the mare will have to be fed a bran mash to keep the feces loose. The well is fed by mountain springs. He was so fed up with his manager that he threw in the towel and quit. She was fed up with living in a pigsty. Feel, felt, felt. Poor nutrition can leave you feeling below par. Crowds made him feel claustrophobic. If you are dozy, you are feeling sleepy and not very alert. I've got all this manic energy. I feel amped. I feel really grateful to have gotten to do that. This body oil leaves your skin feeling deliciously supple. The heightened awareness you feel when a twig cracks in a nearby bush. They feel that they have been double-crossed. I feel honor-bound to keep his secret. I don't feel like talking. I feel like eating. He was feeling smug after his win. He was feeling chipper. Sometimes I feel I'm losing my grip. I don't feel that ambition and accessibility are mutually exclusive. I couldn't really feel any great sympathy for him. A book that makes you feel smarter without boring you to tears. Walking feels way better than just standing. I can feel the pulse in her cool fingertips. The dead cannot feel. The wool feels soft. It feels good. They want to feel out the situation. He didn't feel the loss of his friends so keenly. Poor woman, I do feel for her. 2 years down the road, you might feel very differently. Something good was bound to happen, he could feel it in his bones. This freedom can make people feel unmoored. I felt I was a detestable person and I hated myself and had all the feelings of failure. I felt rather indifferent to his fate. He felt puffed after climbing to the top of the apartment block. He felt privileged to be under the tutelage of an experienced actor. She wore an outfit she'd always wanted to try but felt she was too plump to risk. He felt like a boxer who had been pummeled mercilessly against the ropes. Claudia felt a pain shoot through her chest. My mind felt fuzzy. Dean felt more than just a little fuzzy and decided to call it a night. Carol felt all alone in the world. He felt a twitch of annoyance. He felt numb as grief washed over him. She felt completely crushed by the teacher's criticism. He felt no qualm of conscience, nor any regret. She felt mean for not giving a tip. They felt the exhilaration of victory. She felt a needle prick her tender skin. He felt apprehensive about going home. He felt his bowels loosen. She felt lousy, unwell. We felt cold even though we were cocooned in our sleeping bags. She felt as though a cold hand grasped her stomach. I felt awkward because they obviously wanted to be alone. For the first time in years, she felt in command of her life. She felt she was struggling against disguised misogyny. I felt cornered in poor Stan. She failed to turn up and I felt badly let down. I felt marginalized. He felt at bay, like a very dim minister facing a hostile house. I screamed even louder, and then I felt a hand clamp over my mouth. I felt that you were coquetting with me. I suddenly felt desolate and bereft. We collectively felt a modicum of relief. She felt the ground give way beneath her. I felt I could make a useful contribution. He felt his way back to the stairs. The economic crisis began to make itself felt. A strong sense of oneness is felt with all things. His ubiquitous influence was felt by all the family. The end. Coming next. Session 08.